Hello beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily, and if you're new here, I share real-life stories about resilience, relationships, and the unexpected lessons life throws our way. Before we dive into today's absolutely wild story, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It truly means the world to me and helps me continue sharing these stories with all of you. Now, I have a question for you. What happens when an ex's thirst for revenge leads them down a path they never saw coming? Imagine a meticulously planned payback scheme that doesn't just fail, but instead spirals into a comedic and ironic disaster for the schemer. Well, stick around because I'm about to tell you the unbelievable details of how my ex's vengeance backfired so spectacularly, it's almost poetic. And hey, I love connecting with my viewers, so please tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'll do my best to say hello to everyone, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Let me take you back to about 8 years ago. I was 45 at the time, recently divorced after a 20-year marriage, and honestly, I was thriving. After years of walking on eggshells around my ex-husband Marcus, I had finally found my voice, my independence, and most importantly, my self-worth. Marcus and I had what you might call a complicated relationship. He was the type of man who needed to be in control of everything, the finances, the social calendar, even what I wore to dinner parties. For 2 decades, I had shrunk myself to fit into his vision of what a wife should be. I worked part-time at a local bookstore, kept the house immaculate, and rarely voiced my own opinions. But something changed when I turned 45. Maybe it was a midlife awakening, or maybe I just got tired of living someone else's life. I started taking evening classes in digital marketing, began expressing my thoughts more freely, and, here's the kicker, I started making friends that Marcus didn't approve of. The final straw came when I decided to pursue my dream of starting an online business selling handmade jewelry. Marcus scoffed at the idea, calling it another one of Emily's little hobbies. That night, as I lay in bed listening to him snore, I realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life being dismissed and diminished. The divorce process was brutal. Marcus fought me on everything: custody of our 2 teenage children, the house, even my grandmother's antique jewelry box. His lawyer painted me as an unstable woman going through a midlife crisis, while mine argued that I was simply a woman who had finally found her courage. When the dust settled, I got the house, which had been in my family, half the savings, and joint custody. Marcus was furious. The final day in court, he leaned over and whispered, "You think you've won, Emily? You have no idea what's coming." Those first few months post-divorce were like learning to breathe again. I painted the bedroom walls a cheerful yellow. Marcus had always insisted on boring beige. I rearranged the furniture, bought plants, and for the first time in years, our house felt like a home. My jewelry business, which I had named Second Chances Jewelry, was slowly gaining traction. I was selling pieces through social media and local craft fairs. The irony of the name wasn't lost on me. I was definitely living my second chance. My children, Sarah, 17, and Jake, 15, were adjusting better than expected. They split their time between Marcus's new apartment and our house, and while it wasn't perfect, we were finding our rhythm. But Marcus was not handling things well. He had moved into a bachelor pad across town and seemed to be going through his own version of a midlife crisis: sports car, younger girlfriend, the whole cliché. But every interaction we had was tense. He'd make snide comments during kid exchanges, show up late to Sarah's soccer games, and constantly question my parenting decisions. I tried to take the high road. I really did. I focused on my business, my children, and slowly rebuilding my social life. I even started dating again, nothing serious, just coffee dates and the occasional dinner. It felt good to remember that I was a person outside of being Marcus's wife. That's when things started getting weird. It started small. So small that at first, I thought I was being paranoid. My business website would mysteriously crash at crucial moments, like right before a big online sale or when I was featured in a local blog. My web developer, a sweet college kid named Tommy, was baffled. "It's like someone keeps overwhelming your server with traffic," he said, "but not the good kind of traffic." Then my social media accounts started getting flooded with negative reviews. Anonymous accounts would leave 1-star ratings on my Facebook business page with comments like, "Poor quality, terrible customer service," and "Don't waste your money." The problem? These reviews were from people who had never purchased anything from me. I reported them, got some removed, but more would pop up. It was exhausting and starting to hurt my business reputation. But the real red flag came when I noticed someone had been going through my trash. I know, it sounds paranoid, but I'm a creature of habit, and I always put my garbage bins in the same spot. For 3 weeks straight, I'd find them moved, sometimes with bags opened and contents scattered. Then came the phone calls. Late at night, usually around 11 p.m., someone would call and hang up when I answered. When I stopped answering, they'd let it ring and ring. I changed my number twice, but somehow, they always got the new one. My friends thought I was being dramatic. "Emily, you just went through a difficult divorce," my best friend Lisa said. "Maybe you're just hypervigilant right now." But a woman's intuition is a powerful thing, and mine was screaming that Marcus was behind this. 3 months into this weird campaign of harassment, things escalated dramatically. I woke up one Tuesday morning to find that someone had spray painted "liar" across my garage door in red paint. My heart sank. Not only was it vandalism, but my neighbors saw it. Mrs. Henderson from next door came over with a concerned look, asking if everything was okay. I filed a police report, but without evidence pointing to a specific person, there wasn't much they could do. The officer, a kind woman named Detective Rodriguez, suggested I install security cameras. "Ma'am, I've seen cases like this before," she said gently. "Usually, it's someone close to the victim. Someone who has access to personal information. Think about who might have a grudge." I didn't need to think hard. That weekend, while the kids were at Marcus's place, I had the garage door repainted and installed a full security system, cameras covering all angles of my property. If someone was messing with me, I was going to catch them. I didn't have to wait long. The following Thursday night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a security alert. Someone was in my backyard. I grabbed the baseball bat I now kept beside my bed and checked the live camera feed. There he was, Marcus, creeping around my garden like some sort of suburban ninja, dressed in all black. He was carrying what looked like a bag of something, and he was heading toward my prized rose bushes, the ones I had planted after the divorce as a symbol of new growth. I watched in real time as my ex-husband dumped what appeared to be salt all over my flower beds. Salt. He was trying to kill my garden. The pettiness of it was almost laughable, but the violation felt enormous. This was my sanctuary, my safe space, and he was literally trying to destroy the beauty I had created. I called the police immediately, and by the time they arrived, Marcus was long gone. But I had it all on video. Crystal clear footage of my ex-husband trespassing and vandalizing my property. Detective Rodriguez was not amused when she saw the footage. "Mr. Williams has escalated to direct property damage," she said. "We can press charges now." The next morning, I called my lawyer and Marcus. I was done playing games. "We need to talk," I told him when he answered. "Today. And bring your lawyer." We met at my attorney's office that afternoon. Marcus walked in looking smug and confident, like he was about to close a business deal. His lawyer, the same shark he'd used during our divorce, sat beside him with a briefcase and an attitude. "Marcus," I said, sliding a tablet across the table showing the security footage, "care to explain this?" His face went white as he watched himself salting my roses. The smugness evaporated instantly. "Emily, I can explain." "Explain what?" "How you've been harassing me for months. The fake reviews, the late night calls, going through my trash. I was on a roll now, and 20 years of suppressed anger was fueling me. Or maybe you'd like to explain how a grown man thinks destroying his ex-wife's garden is an appropriate response to a divorce." His lawyer was frantically scribbling notes and whispering in Marcus's ear. But I wasn't done. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. "You're going to stop this harassment campaign immediately. You're going to pay for the damages to my property. And you're going to leave me alone to build my life in peace. Or I press charges and we let a judge decide what your midnight gardening adventures are worth." Marcus tried to interrupt, but his lawyer grabbed his arm. "Mr. Williams, I strongly advise you to remain silent." "Oh, he can talk," I said. I'd love to hear his justification. And talk he did. What came out of his mouth next was a revelation that would change everything. "You want the truth, Emily?" Marcus's voice was rising, his face getting red. "Fine. You ruined my life. 20 years I took care of you, gave you everything, and you threw it away for what? To play with beads and wire? To pretend you're some kind of entrepreneur?" His lawyer was practically pulling on his sleeve, but Marcus was in full rant mode now. "You think your little jewelry business is so successful? I've been sabotaging it from day one. The website crashes? Me. The fake reviews? All me. I hired a company to flood your server and create fake accounts. Cost me $3,000, but it was worth it to watch you struggle." I sat there stunned, but he kept going. "And those late night calls? I wanted you to feel like you were losing your mind. I wanted you to question everything, just like you made me question my worth when you left me." At this point, his lawyer looked like he was about to have a heart attack. "Marcus, please, you need to stop talking immediately." But Marcus was beyond stopping. 20 years of controlling behavior was exploding in my lawyer's conference room. "I know every password you've ever used, Emily. Your mother's maiden name, your childhood pet, your first car. I set up alerts on all your accounts. I know every move you make online." The room went dead silent. Even his lawyer had given up and was just staring at him in horror. "And the salt thing?" Marcus continued, completely oblivious to the legal hole he was digging himself into. "That was just the beginning. I was going to escalate every month until you gave up and moved away. Maybe then Sarah and Jake would see what kind of mother abandons her children for a silly dream." My lawyer was writing so fast I thought her pen might catch fire. This was better than anything we could have hoped for in terms of evidence, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. "There's more," Marcus said, and I swear I saw his lawyer's soul leave his body. "I've been documenting everything about your unstable behavior. The late nights working on your business, the times you seemed stressed during kid pickups, that time you had a glass of wine at Sarah's school event. I've been building a case to prove you're an unfit mother." My heart stopped. This wasn't just harassment, he was trying to take my children away. "I have photos, videos, screenshots of your social media posts, anything that could be twisted to make you look like you're having a breakdown. I was going to wait until you had a complete mental collapse from all the pressure, then file for full custody." The room was spinning. This man, who I had shared a bed with for 20 years, who I had trusted with my deepest fears and dreams, had been orchestrating a campaign to destroy not just my business, but my relationship with my children. But then something shifted in his expression. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. "Although," he started, then stopped. "Although what, Marcus?" his lawyer asked weakly. "Well, there might be a small problem with the documentation part. Here it comes," I thought. "The moment his master plan starts to unravel. See, I've been storing all the evidence on my work computer. Screenshots, photos, videos, my detailed logs of Emily's erratic behavior. I figured it was safer there than at home where the kids might see it." His lawyer perked up slightly. "That's actually smart. Except I got fired last week." The silence in the room was deafening. "You got fired?" his lawyer whispered. "Yeah, well, apparently spending hours during work time monitoring your ex-wife's social media accounts and hiring companies to sabotage her business using the company credit card is considered misuse of company resources and potentially illegal activity." I couldn't help it. I started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, but a full-body, tears streaming down my face laugh. My ex-husband had just confessed to months of harassment, cyberbullying, stalking, trespassing, and fraud. All while admitting he'd lost his job in the process. And we had it all on recording. The next few days were a whirlwind. Marcus's detailed confession had given us everything we needed to not only press criminal charges but also to file a restraining order and pursue a civil case. But the real irony was just beginning to unfold. Remember how Marcus had been using his company credit card to pay for sabotaging my business? Well, his former employer was not amused. They filed their own charges against him for embezzlement and fraud. The $3,000 he'd spent trying to ruin me had cost him his six-figure job and landed him in legal hot water. Then came the cybercrime charges, hiring people to create fake accounts and crash websites. That's not just harassment, it's a federal crime. The FBI's cybercrime unit got involved, and suddenly Marcus found himself facing charges that could result in serious jail time. But the most spectacular backfire was yet to come. You see, while Marcus had been obsessing over destroying my life, I had been quietly building something beautiful. My jewelry business, despite his sabotage efforts, had been growing steadily. Real customers loved my work, and word of mouth was bringing in more orders than I could handle. 3 days after Marcus's confession, I got a call that changed everything. "Ms. Williams, this is Janet Chen from Artisan Spotlight magazine. We've been following your work, and we'd like to feature your jewelry line in our upcoming issue about entrepreneurs who've overcome adversity." It turned out that a customer had shared my story, not the harassment part, just the journey of a woman starting over at 45, with a journalist friend. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The magazine feature led to a segment on the local morning show, which led to orders from across the country. Suddenly, Second Chance's jewelry wasn't just surviving Marcus's sabotage, it was thriving beyond my wildest dreams. But the ultimate irony came a month later, when I received a call from Marcus's former boss. "Mrs. Williams, this is David Peterson from Peterson and Associates. I understand you've had some difficulties with our former employee Marcus Williams." Peterson and Associates was the marketing firm where Marcus had worked. Apparently, when they discovered what he'd been doing with their resources, they looked into my business to assess potential liability. "Mrs. Williams, I have to say, your jewelry designs are extraordinary. And your story of resilience in the face of sabotage is exactly the kind of authentic narrative our clients are looking for. Would you be interested in discussing a partnership? 6 months later, I was sitting in my newly expanded workshop. I'd converted the entire garage into a proper studio, when Sarah and Jake came home from school. "Mom, did you see the article about Dad in the paper?" Sarah asked, looking concerned. Marcus had pled guilty to multiple charges to avoid jail time, but he was facing 2 years of probation, community service, and had to pay substantial fines and restitution. The local business journal had run a story about corporate fraud that mentioned his case. "I saw it, honey. How are you both feeling about everything?" It hadn't been easy for the kids. Finding out that their father had been systematically trying to destroy their mother's life and business was a lot for teenagers to process. We'd all been in family therapy, working through the complex emotions of betrayal, disappointment, and confused loyalty. "Honestly, Mom," Jake said, flopping down on the couch, "I'm kind of proud of you." "Proud of me?" "Yeah. Dad always made it seem like you couldn't do anything without him. But look at this place. Look at your business. You're literally more successful now than when you were married to him." Sarah nodded. "And the way you handled everything, you didn't try to turn us against him, even after we found out what he did. That takes strength." Their words meant more to me than any business success ever could. The legal aftermath had been swift and decisive. Marcus was ordered to pay damages for the sabotage, the therapy costs for the children, and the security system installation. The restraining order meant he could only contact me through lawyers regarding the kids, and all custody exchanges happened at a supervised facility. But perhaps the most satisfying resolution came from an unexpected source. Remember those fake negative reviews Marcus had paid for? When the FBI investigated his cybercrime activities, they traced them back to the company he'd hired. That company was shut down, and several other small businesses that had been victimized received justice and compensation. I even got a call from a woman named Patricia whose bakery had been destroyed by the same fake review scheme. We started a support group for small business owners who'd been targeted by similar harassment. It grew into a nonprofit organization that helps entrepreneurs protect themselves from cyberbullying and unfair business practices. As I reflect on this whole ordeal, I keep coming back to the same thought. Marcus's need for revenge revealed more about his character than my divorce ever did. For 20 years, I thought I needed his approval, his permission, his validation to be worthy. But his campaign of harassment inadvertently proved that I was stronger than either of us had ever imagined. Every obstacle he put in my path became a stepping stone. Every attempt to make me fail only strengthened my resolve. His sabotage of my website taught me to diversify my online presence. His fake reviews taught me the importance of authentic customer relationships. His attempts to isolate me pushed me to build a stronger community of supporters. The business that he tried so hard to destroy became more successful than I ever dreamed possible. Second Chance's Jewelry now employs 4 part-time artisans, and we donate a portion of our profits to domestic violence shelters, because I learned firsthand how financial independence can be a lifeline for women leaving controlling relationships. Marcus, on the other hand, lost everything he thought mattered: his job, his reputation, his control over my life, and ultimately, much of his relationship with our children. His need for revenge consumed him and cost him far more than our divorce ever did. The kids are doing well now. Sarah just got accepted to her dream college with a scholarship partly funded by, you guessed it, the success of my business. Jake has started showing interest in entrepreneurship and helps me with social media marketing during summers. They still see their father, but the dynamic has completely changed. They understand now that love doesn't mean control, and that supporting someone's dreams is very different from trying to manage their life. As for me, I'm dating a wonderful man named Robert who cheers me on, celebrates my successes, and has never once suggested I should scale back my ambitions. He's a divorced father of 2, and he understands that real partnership means lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. But more importantly, I learned to be my own cheerleader first. The most beautiful irony of this whole story is that Marcus's revenge plot gave me something I never expected: complete clarity about my own strength and worth. Every night for months, he tried to make me question my sanity with those anonymous phone calls. Instead, I learned to trust my intuition absolutely. He tried to destroy my business reputation with fake reviews. Instead, I built authentic relationships with customers who became genuine advocates for my work. He attempted to prove I was an unstable mother. Instead, my children saw me handle an impossible situation with grace and determination, showing them what resilience looks like in action. He wanted to drive me out of our community in shame. Instead, I became a local success story and a resource for other women facing similar challenges. Marcus spent months, thousands of dollars, and ultimately his career trying to orchestrate my downfall. But he forgot one crucial thing: you can't destroy someone who refuses to be destroyed. His spectacular revenge backfired because it was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who I had become. He was still fighting the timid, dependent woman he had been married to. But I had evolved into someone who turns obstacles into opportunities, who transforms harassment into motivation, and who builds bridges instead of burning them. Today, Second Chances Jewelry has a waiting list of customers, a feature story in a national magazine coming out next month, and a partnership with a major retailer in the works. We're launching a scholarship program for women starting businesses after major life transitions. And Marcus? Last I heard, he was working as a night security guard and living in a studio apartment. He's still in therapy, trying to understand how his need for control and revenge destroyed the life he was trying to protect. I don't feel sorry for him, exactly, but I do hope he finds peace. Carrying that much anger and resentment is exhausting. I know because I carried it for 20 years of marriage. The difference is, I chose to put it down and walk towards something better. He chose to weaponize it and lost everything in the process. So, beautiful souls, what's the lesson in all of this chaos? Sometimes the people who try hardest to prove we can't succeed are actually providing us with the greatest motivation to prove them wrong. Marcus's elaborate revenge scheme became the catalyst for the most successful and fulfilling period of my life. When someone tries to dim your light, don't waste energy fighting the darkness, just shine brighter. Your dreams and ambitions are not little hobbies to be dismissed. They're not threats to be sabotaged. They're seeds of possibility that deserve to be nurtured, protected, and celebrated. And if someone in your life is more invested in your failure than your success, that tells you everything you need to know about their place in your future. Remember, you don't need anyone's permission to rebuild your life, pursue your dreams, or become the person you were meant to be. The only validation that matters comes from within. Thank you so much for joining me for this wild story today. If it resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? And have you ever had to overcome someone else's attempt to sabotage your dreams? I read every comment and love connecting with you all. Until next time, keep shining, keep growing, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply living your best life. Much love, Emily.